T-minus 9 minutes. T-minus 8 minutes. T-minus 7 minutes. T-minus 6 minutes. T-minus 5 minutes. 2 minutes. T-minus 1 minute. Stand by.
How about that?
Let's go. Happy Tuesday, everybody. That's what it is, right? It's the RP Show. It's your favorite daytime sports talk show coming at you here on the Game Plus Television Network. We got so much to get to today, and I'm going to tell you, today is going to be awesome. It's always awesome, but today's going to be extra awesome. We got Mitchell Scruffy Blair co-hosting with me coming up in mere moments. And the iconic Mark Hebscher, Hebsy, will be joining us from Toronto, Ontario, Canada. For our Ontario viewers, that name means a lot. To our U.S. viewers, it's going to mean a lot. Not only is he an iconic broadcaster, the pioneer of the two-man sportscast, as you know, Scruffy, because you're a broadcast and media aficionado as like myself. Mark Hebscher will be joining us from the infamous Sports Line from Global. He's got a new book out called Madness, The Rise and Ruin of Sports Media, that is coming up in hour 2. Mitch, I feel like that's a book that you could have written, I could have written. We've had a front row seat for it. Hebsy's going to join us and talk about it next hour.
Mark Hebscher, Roddy, was Sports Center, Sports Central before those shows even got off the ground.
Yeah.
And I take it back to Regina and the iconic Warren Woods, R.I.P., and Craig Adam and everybody else, that Ron Rimmer that did that show. We got those shows before Sports Center and all that was even they weren't even in its infancy.
Before Dan Patrick and Olbermann, before Jay and Dan, before Tim and Sid, they were the pioneers. So I knew that name would mean a lot to you. Hebsy coming up in hour 2. I can't wait. I said, how'd you find us? And he goes, I got you on the Game Plus network on my TV. I reached out and here we are. So I'm very much looking forward to that chat. Okay, Scruffy, away we go. We are not opening with baseball today as we get to the quick 6 show topics. The big story is football, and it's Monday Night Football, and I'm kind of tired of talking about it already, but quarterback Jacoby Brissett threw for 2 touchdowns and ran for a major, filling in for Kyler Murray, and the visiting Arizona Cardinals stopped a 5-game NFL losing streak with a 27-17 victory over the Dallas Cowboys on Monday Night Football. Listen, I don't know if you get Up and First Take and all these shows that we're inundated with here in America, but all morning long, it's been all about the Cowboys and Stephen A. Smith sitting in Jerry Jones' booth, and I'm like, congratulations, Stephen A., you just got turned by Jerry, because this morning he wasn't wearing the Cowboy hat, he wasn't heckling the Cowboys, because Jerry turned him. Jerry's ruining the Dallas Cowboys, and he's turning all the media to his side so he doesn't get vilified for it, and I'm disgusted by the Dallas Cowboys. There's my take on Monday Night Football, which doesn't surprise you at all.
if we rolled back the tape yesterday, I think you said you were expecting a mollywhopping tonight.
It should have been.
Dallas Cowboys, and they looked terrible last night.
Don't put this on me.
They looked absolutely terrible. Jerry Jones teased everybody by saying they had made a trade. They announced that trade today. It's a guy that couldn't even start on the Cincinnati Bengals, and look at how their defense has played the last 2 weeks. Yeah, that's going to improve things.
Yeah, it is NFL.
As for Stephen A.
Go ahead. No, keep going. Keep going.
Well, Stephen
well,
A.
I know, but
just...
I respect his career. I do, but it's like you just got turned by Jerry and you don't even know it. How can everybody not see this? But it goes back to Hebsey's book, Madness, The Rise and Ruin of Sports Media, which I will discuss later when you're not with me because my time with you is precious. I don't want to spend it talking about Jerry Jones and all them. But what I want to talk about is this. This morning, I don't know where you are on streaming and stuff. I kind of got a pretty good idea what goes on in your house, even though you've never invited me there in all the years that we've known each other. I digress. People were saying this morning they couldn't get the Monday Night Football game because YouTube TV had a spat with Disney and ESPN's not on YouTube and they couldn't watch Monday Night Football. And I'm like, number one, what are you complaining about? You should be thankful that you weren't subjected to what the Cowboys did last night. Number two, it's ESPN on Monday Night Football. TSN in Canada. What do you mean you don't get it? So I've had cable. I've always had cable. And Access Communications is my longest running and biggest personal sponsor of rodpeterson.com and everything that I do. I'm a cable guy. And I believe you are too. Are you not? Yeah. So the poll question for EMJ Marketing is, do you have cable TV? Because if you have it, even in your basic package, you would have had Monday Night Football, not to mention Hockey Night Canada and all the rest. Jeff in Toronto writes in, he says, does streaming count as cable? No, streaming does not count as cable. Brian in Edmonton writes in, he says, we got rid of satellite cable in favor of internet programming and chose programs online. So, but listen, I get when you cut cords back in the day. I never cut it because of my long-standing relationship with Access. I couldn't do that to them. But here we are 20 years later, Mitch. I'm so glad I didn't, because with Amazon Prime and Paramount and Netflix and all the rest and Hulu and all these others, I'm glad I didn't cut it. I wonder if people are regretting those that cut it.
Yeah, that's a great question. I take a look at my TV situation, and obviously the only thing that really interests me is sports on television now. There's nothing on primetime television. Really, do we really need Tim Allen back on TV with that terrible show he has? America's Masked Singer? No, give me a football game. Give me a hockey game. College basketball just started up. I have a Fire Stick, so I can watch any of these games that I want to watch, but when it comes to the CFL, when it comes to Hockey Night in Canada, when it comes to other sports, I'm usually fun on TSN or Sportsnet.
Well, that's part of why I say it. Jeff in Toronto continues. He says, I just stream. I hate paying for cable for a bunch of channels I don't watch. Scott in Vancouver writes in. He says, didn't Hebsey coin the phrase, the top shelf where mom keeps the peanut butter? He might not have. I'll ask him. That goes back 40 years. Jeff, the Stamps fan, says, do you have cable TV? Yes, if you are over 40. So listen, I'm not going to belabor this all day, but I'm really enjoying the book I read in 2.5 days, by the way, the book Madness, The Rise and Ruin of Sports Media. This all ties in to kind of what I'm talking about here right now. But my point is, if I don't get a game, I don't belabor it. I just don't watch it or I don't listen. The Blue Jays, I found out here in the playoffs, I had to pay extra on SiriusXM or Sportsnet just to listen. Screw that. No. And somebody asked me at the Panther game the other night, do you have an NHL package? I said, yeah, I got ESPN Plus. It's $30 a month US. That's worth it to me. I'm sure that would add up to whatever center ice is on Access. Same. I'll pay for the games that I want, that I really want. But I wasn't paying for certain. If I don't get it, I don't get it. And I got Prime because the Cowboys were playing on the Thursday night on opening night, and I had to get that for $6.99 a month. But I have cable and streaming. How about that? But I'm a sports media guy. We'll continue this and be back in a moment with more. We're just getting rolling here on the Game Plus television network.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw-up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Looking for a new ride without the big city pressure? Come to Western Dodge in Moose Jaw, where you'll find an unbeatable lineup of Ram trucks, Jeep SUVs, Dodge Muscle, and Chrysler family rides. With knowledgeable staff, great prices, and that friendly Moose Jaw touch, you'll drive away with confidence. Western Dodge. Big selection, small town service. Visit us today or browse online at westerndodge.ca.
Do you worry about how much someone drinks?
Do you feel angry or depressed most of the time? Do you feel neglected or unloved?
Do you feel that if the drinker loved you, she or he would stop drinking?
If you answered yes to any of these questions, you are not alone.
Not everyone trapped by alcohol is an alcoholic.
Families and friends are suffering too.
Al-Anon and
Alateen can help. Call 1-866-200-0223 or visit alanon.org/help.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with The Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with The Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Famoso, Italian pizzeria and bar. Taste, savor, share. Famoso, the spirit of Italian. Come in, enjoy.
You have a vision, a big idea, but how do you turn ambition into absolute impact? It starts with connection, booking top-tier speakers and executing seamless events. That's the EMJ difference. We position your brand where it belongs, Guy, through powerful advertising, strategic media, and promotion that drives results. At EMJ Marketing, we don't just promote, we partner. Your growth, our mission.
RP Show continues. Hour one coming up in hour two. Mark Hebscher joins us, the infamous Hebsy. If you know, you know. We opened with point one talking about the NFL, Monday Night Football. It morphed into the cable television discussion. Do you have it? Do you not? The results, by the way, are about 50-50 on our poll. The breaking news today on NFL trade deadline day, Jerry Jones made a deal to bolster the NFL's second worst defense. The Dallas Cowboys acquired linebacker Logan Wilson from the Bengals for a 7th-round pick this morning. It was, as Scruffy said, teased last night prior to the game. We go fast here in the Quick Six Show topics. We'll come back to all the NFL in a moment. Point two, The Toronto Maple Leafs, led by a pair of goals from William Nylander, scored 4 times in the third period to defeat the visiting Pittsburgh Penguins 4-3 Monday. Brock Besser's second goal of the game, scored with 2 seconds left in overtime, gave the visiting Vancouver Canucks 5-4, a victory over the Nashville Predators. Pia Suter's goal at 18:37 of the third snapped the 2-2 tie, lifted the Blues past the Oilers 3-2. Jordan Eberle had a goal and an assist, and the Seattle Kraken edged the visiting Chicago Blackhawks 3-1. Scruffy, I noticed somebody in the sports updates here. You and I have been broadcast news, CP people for years, reading the Wire update, talking about the standings already. It's November the 4th. Like, the games to me right now are just games, although Ken Holland, I did hear him on NHL radio saying every game feels like a playoff game right now. Do you have a take on last night's games or where the NHL is here in the first week in November?
You know what? I saw a stat on the weekend. There have been a large percentage of games, like I think it's over 70%.
It's like 78%.
That have been
I know where you're going.
A one-goal game in the third period. And
or
to
2
me,
goal with an empty netter. Yeah.
What's that?
Or 2 goal with an empty netter. Yeah.
No, at some point in the third period, it's been a 1-goal hockey game. And then whether or not there's an empty netter to make it a 2 or 3 goal game or not, that's beside the point. But the fact that we're seeing so many close games in the NHL, and, is it just a fact where maybe the talent just sort of shows up in the final 10 minutes, i.e. Seattle and Chicago last night? Stuff like that. Yeah, the Oilers give one away after being up 2-0, but why do you have Evan Bouchard on the ice in the final 2 minutes of the game when he doesn't want to play defense? That's another story. But the fact that there have been so many close games, we see nights that we're having 3-2 games, we see nights that we're having 5-4 games. That's good for the league as far as I'm concerned, because it keeps you invested in the contest you're watching.
Yeah, well, the stat, so I get where I saw the similar stat. It was phrased a little differently. 78% of final scores are 1 goal or 2 goals with an empty netter. So it's the closest parity in the history of the NHL. And that's what Ken Holland was saying, is that every game is a playoff game for them. And I kind of do sense that. This is now the 5th season that I've been covering the Florida Panthers, and you just can tell that there's a lot of tension earlier in the year. You know what I'm saying? Like the Panthers they came home off a 4-game losing streak. The Lightning had lost like 4 or 5, and everybody was upset in the Tampa Bay market. Do you tense? I would have just put that to social media and the cost of tickets, and fans are more enraged than ever if your team loses in terms of ramping up the pressure. But the fact that
I think that was always there, Rod. It's just now that social media expands that voice, because that voice wasn't heard before. Another thing that I've sort of gotten to, and I didn't realize this until I was looking at the standings yesterday, going into play last night, every team in the Eastern Conference was above 500.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like we've only played 5 or 6 games. We're in that 10 to 15 game mark now. So, there's a lot of parity in the NHL right now, and that means that it's going to be tough for teams to make moves because nobody's really fallen out of things. And I think that makes for great hockey.
And that's where we're at for sure. But to sit here with the minutiae of the night-to-night scores, I'm not really getting into that yet. Other than the hockey's been good, I think we can all agree. The poll question is, are you paying or do you have cable television? It's about 50-50. I'm very much enjoying the people's response to that. Scott in Vancouver says, I'm paying too much for cable, but streaming is a pain in the ass. But a lot of the younger generation seems to love it. Jeff in Toronto says streaming with internet ends up like $150, still cheaper. I don't know. My cable bill is like $130 a month. And again, I don't really feel like I'm missing out on any games. So, and the other big news coming out of the NHL Monday is the NHL is going to Jerry World for a Stadium Series game. The league announced that the Dallas Stars will host the 2027 game at the home of the NFL's Dallas Cowboys in Arlington, Texas. NHL Commissioner Gary Bettman said Cowboys owner Jerry Jones has been advocating for a game there since the stadium opened in 2009. So that's the news coming out of the National Hockey League. We're going through this fast. Bill in the Queen City writes in, he gave me the Ron and Don bobblehead, shipped it to me here in Florida. He says 2 points may be the difference of playoffs or golf, so every game is important. As Mitch said, it always has been. Mitch is right. It always has been. Bobby Lowe's 30 years ago told me that. I'm like, why are you snapping so hard? It's October, for God's sakes, when he was the coach of the Pats. Can you imagine Bobby Lowe snapping? He's like, these points mean as much now as they do in March. Oh.
Yeah.
That's why Bobby Lowe's
Absolutely.
is the two-time CHL Coach of the Year. Anyways, moving along, we'll come back on all of these points because everybody's writing in about NFL trade deadline. They're writing in about cable TV. They're writing in about the NHL. There's a lot going on. There's one less thing going on, that's baseball. But this weekend is the CFL Division Division Finals here on the Game Plus Television Network. This is our Canadian hour of the program. So that's what Kornheiser waves this on ESPN, Mitch. He ain't talking about the CFL Division Finals, okay? That's a ruse for everybody that thinks that he might actually get drunk and talk about the CFL one day. Yeah, it's not happening.
Maybe ESPN has to start doing CFL games. Oh, did I just say something maybe that I shouldn't have?
They did it for years. They don't anymore. Let's get with the program.
I know.
Saturday, Montreal is at Hamilton in the Eastern Final. Later in the day, it's the BC Lions at the Saskatchewan Roughriders in the Western Final. I have not looked up the point spreads yet, but I will. It'll take me 2 seconds to do that. Tomorrow, we'll vote on what's the game of the two, what's the game of the week. We do it every Wednesday during the Canadian Football League season, but I got to think it's the West Division game. And as a matter of fact, while I look up the point spreads, I'll guess that the home teams are favored, Mitch.
No,
maybe not. No, you don't think so?
I believe Montreal's favored.
How about that? Do you go along with that?
No. Like I told you yesterday, at the start of the year, I went Hamilton, BC at the start of the year, so that's what I'm taking this weekend.
Montreal favored by 1.5. It doesn't get much more narrow than that.
Was it a point and a half now? It was 2.5 last night. So
point and a half. OddsShark was the very first gambling site that popped up when I Googled this. Montreal favored by 1.5 at Hamilton, and the Saskatchewan Roughriders favored by 3.5 at home over the BC Lions on Saturday night. Do you go along with that point spread?
It's funny that because both point spreads have gone down because, as I said, Montreal was 2.5, and the Riders I looked last night, I think we're 5.5. So some money coming in on the visiting teams, and that's interesting. I guess money coming in on Hamilton, I guess. Sorry, they'll be the home team. But yeah, I would think those lines will probably stabilize a little bit more come Friday night. And it wouldn't surprise me if both are around 3.5 to 4.5. And we know that the division finals, Roddy, a lot of times those come down to the place kicker and who has the ball last. And we usually see great games in the division finals. Usually the CFL division finals are better than the NFL Conference Championship. So let's hope for a good week of football, and let's hope that the weather is good for both Hamilton and Regina.
Well, the semifinal games were obviously fantastic. I don't know. I still don't have a problem with them switching Sundays to Saturday. I think people are still getting used to it. Somebody asked me the other day, how long ago did they do that? I'm like, I don't really remember, to be honest. It's going to be 2, 3 years, 4 years at the most that they've done that. I don't think it's a bad move that they did it. How do you know that you're going to go up against Game 7 of the World Series? You don't.
Yeah.
They couldn't have planned for that.
Yeah, that's not going to happen every year. I also still think that the CFL should look at 1 year as a test balloon running the Grey Cup on a Saturday night. 5:00 p.m. local kickoff time gives you a lot of time to still party after the game and gives you time to get home still on Sunday with the sore head that you usually come home with on Monday.
I would suggest, especially with the rule changes and field changes that have been announced by the commissioner of the Canadian Football League, Stu Joe, as he has lovingly been nicknamed, Stu Joe, I would think anything's on the table, Mitch. It's funny because whatever the ratings were for Game 4 or 5 of the World Series, it was like 8 million in Canada. I saw 25 million watched Game 7 of the World Series Saturday night, Dodgers, Blue Jays. It was the most since 2017. What were the ratings in Canada? Have you seen anywhere reported?
Oh, you know what? I saw that this morning. It set a record. I don't have the exact number, but it set a record for the most watched sports program in Canada. And it eclipsed the 2010 gold medal game in Vancouver, where, of course, Sidney Crosby scored the golden goal. And, if you'd have asked me this beforehand, I could have found it for you. But there were, I think they said, and don't quote me on this because the number could be wrong, there were 15 million Canadians watching when Ernie Clement hit the fly ball that Andy Pages caught to send the game into extra innings. Because I think at that point, everybody was just waiting to explode, thinking that the Blue Jays were going to win the World Series in the bottom of the ninth.
I know I was. I raced home from the Panthers-Stars game to catch it, expecting a Blue Jays victory. Didn't happen. Regarding moving the Grey Cup to Saturday, Bomber Boy writes in, he's watching in Calgary. He says, stop being a baby and just book off Monday like every normal person does. Scott in Vancouver
don't like
says,
change? Why don't people like change?
Scott in Vancouver says, so the Grey Cup will be going up against the Lions and Eagles as the Sunday nighter. But the Grey Cup's always been going up against the Sunday nighter in the NFL. Yeah. That's not new. I'd like
However,
to see it
can I
move
say
to a
this?
southern locale.
Having the Detroit Lions on Sunday Night Football and the Southern Ontario market where the Bills and the Lions are obviously get a lot of play, that doesn't help the CFL any.
Well, again, though, as you say, the times are a-changing. And that was why I said this would be a great show today, at least from my perspective, because I love looking at this. Mark Hebscher coming up in hour 2, the author of the book, Madness, the Rise and Ruin of Sports Media. Madness, the Rise and Ruin of Sports Media. Everything is changing. And I'll get, once Mitch is gone, about quarter to the hour, I'll give you a little more of a review of the book, because I absolutely loved it. It's right down my alley. Okay, it started from the ancient writings, Mitch, of covering boxing in the year 700 AD up to 2025 and everything in between, and how it's all changed. We need to get with it here. Kirk in Toronto writes in on the Western Dodge text line. He goes, going way back, watching Sportsline on Global TV out of Toronto with hosts Mark Hebscher and Bob McCowan. Well, I think of it as Jim Taddy. You must have watched those old Sportsline episodes, haven't you, out of Toronto?
Yeah.
I did. I remember watching that in the...
It's an inside joke, Rod. It's an inside joke, but I wonder when you will write a book similar to Mark Hebscher with your experiences covering sports. And is it safe to say, as current CTV Regina 6 o'clock news anchor Lee Jones would say, that you would call the book, "What? No!"
What? No! Oh, my God. By the way, Jim is watching in Balgony, and he says, Mitchell, bite your tongue going against Canada's team. Scruffy picked the BC Lions to win the West Final. We will pick up on all of this when we come back, everybody. We are live on the Game Plus television network.
Country's hottest party is coming. James Barker Band, Bud Light Buckle Up Tour 2025. Live across Canada with special guests Ryan and Rory. November 20th, Temple Garden Center. Tickets on sale now at Temple Garden Center box office or online at zasktix.ca. James Barker Band Live.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with The Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more. There's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
You have a vision, a big idea, but how do you turn ambition into absolute impact? It starts with connection. Booking top-tier speakers and executing seamless events, that's the EMJ difference.
We position your brand where it belongs, Guy, through powerful advertising, strategic media, and promotion that drives results. At EMJ Marketing, we don't just promote, we partner. Your growth, our mission.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina. This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw-up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with The Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
We do the Junior Hockey Report daily for our friends at the Mad Greek Eatery in Moose Jaw, and Edmonton Oil Kings forward and Colorado Avalanche prospect Max Curran has been named the WHL Player of the Week. The 19-year-old Curran from Prague and the Scholastic Player of the Year last season in the dub tallied 10 points and a +6 rating in 3 games as the Oil Kings went 3-0 this past week. And Calgary Hitman netminder Eric Tu has been named WHL Goalie of the Week. A 17-year-old from White Rock, BC, went 2-0 with a 1.51 GAA and .942 save percentage this past week. That's your Junior Hockey Report for the Mad Greek in Moose Jaw. By the way, the Pats home to the Calgary Hitmen tonight. Those Hitmen in Moose Jaw tomorrow. So stop in at the Mad Greek and tell Johnny you treat us, the Mad Greek that you saw us talking about him. Thanks to those that support the sponsors of ours, whether it's pizza, ribs, or authentic Greek favorites. Make it the Mad Greek Eatery tonight, open until 11 p.m. Or tomorrow night when the Warriors are home in the Rempel Temple. Okay, Scruffy. Point 4, the Raptors will be aiming to make it 3 wins in a row when they host the Milwaukee Bucks in NBA play tonight. The 3-4 Raps, who knocked off the visiting Memphis Grizzlies on Sunday, are trying to get back to the 500 mark after a slow start. On that MLSE vein, told you there's a flow today. Mark Hebscher coming up next hour. He'll talk about the ruination of sports media. MLSE runs the media in Canada, period. I think we can all agree on that. And you just sent me the note that Game 7 of the World Series was the most watched Rogers broadcast in Canadian history. So it did not top the 2010 gold medal game, right? That was a CTV vis-a-vis
those
Bell
are both.
broadcast.
It was a consortium. It was a consortium.
Okay.
Yep.
So more people watch I skimmed what you sent me. I skimmed it. So I didn't watch it that closely. More people watch Game 7 of the World Series than the golden goal, Canada, USA in the 2010 Olympics gold medal game. Is that what you're saying? Now,
from what I'm reading here, yes.
Okay. Scanning your memory banks. Either way, it's a lot of people. But let me say this, as Mark Hebscher gets ready to come in next hour. Just so you know, 344 pages in his book, Madness, The Rise and Ruin of Sports Media. It's kind of a bleak ending, just so you know. You're a career media guy. I'm a career media guy. Hebsey's a career media guy. And that really, not really going down a great road if you're a young sportscaster. Let's put it that way. But as Hebsey says, the ratings have never been higher. The stadiums have never been fuller. The revenue has never been higher for the teams. Not as much for the broadcast entities, but why would MLSC or Rogers think they're doing anything wrong? Their baseball team just went to Game 7 of the World Series. They probably don't think they're doing anything wrong.
I completely agree with that. And I think, again, Roddy, in this day and age of social media, where the teams are now controlling the message and not the media, to those that are getting into the business, good luck. And if you can find yourself an avenue to work with a sports team, take it. Because that's where you're probably going to make your money. Like, you look at Regina. The sports media here is terrible. Like, it's terrible. But the only people they've got to blame are the higher-ups.
Of course. Which, interestingly enough, in Hebsey's book, he'll discuss all of that. He talked about all the people that got laid off. All the great people from all the Canadian networks. But just so you know, because we're going to be on the air across Nevada in hour 2 on the Silver State Sports and Entertainment Network, he went heavily into the history of Monday Night Football and the institution of Fox and how Madden got pulled away from CBS. He went through that all. And Howard Cosell, there's a big American flavor to that as well. But I'll say it again. Like, I felt like saying, why don't you go interview a Nelson Millman? Okay, who was my boss at Sportsnet for 4 years when I worked for them as a stringer. Ask Nelson. Guy got shown the door like an old school guy, Nelson. You know what I mean? Like some of the don't interview the guys now, the people that you and I know that fired us, Mitch. They were the boobs. They weren't the guys that built the industry. They're the guys that ruined the industry.
Yep.
I'd like to hear from them, what they have to say for themselves. Hebsey didn't interview those guys. They're kind of hard to find. He did take a few guys to task in the book, however. And by the way, here's the synergy with the discussion today. Do you have cable TV? That's the poll question for EMJ Marketing. Transform your audience with powerful presentations from EMJ Marketing's elite speakers. Wayne in Victoria, BC is watching. He says, good morning. I kept my cable service mainly for the sports I watch. I don't have many streaming services. Well, I have cable for Forensic Files. It's a little 30-minute snack-sized version of Dateline. But I also watch Dateline. I love the true crime shows. I don't watch a lot of cable TV. I don't. I have it for the sports. Go ahead.
Is Forensic Files on Headline News? Is that the one you watch?
I love it.
My wife watches. She's addicted to that show.
That narrator's got such a creepy, spooky voice. And the thing that people don't understand. Yeah. Well... It's so great. And their shows are 25 years old. So the narrator, recent show I'm watching, he goes, they found the perpetrator by a thing called GPS, Global Positioning System. I'm like, no way.
I saw one where they were talking about the new thing about DNA, and I'm like, how old is this?
It's so good. Yeah. Producer Corey writes, and he says, take that, Robert Stack. Unsolved Mysteries. All those. By the way, you can find all the old ones on Netflix. Ken in Mississauga writes in, he says, why does Scruffy think sports media in Regina is terrible? Over to you, Mitchell.
Well, it's just cuts have been made at the different areas. I'll just go from this. The other night, I did a Canada West football game, and at the end of the game, I went downstairs to congratulate the head coach of the Regina Rams, Mark McConkey. There was one radio guy there, or I'm sorry, two, because the play-by-play guy was there as well, was with the radio station. There was a newspaper guy there. Any TV cameras? Nope. Why is that? Because CTV Regina doesn't have a dedicated sports guy. Global Regina, I don't believe, has a dedicated sports guy. If they do, or sports person. If they do, I don't know who it is. But I did Red Sox games all year. You did Moose Jaw games all year. Did you see TV cameras out getting any post-game unless it was meant something, Rod?
No.
Did you used to see that 10 years ago, 15 years ago in a regular season game? Of course,
the press box would be full. And I think we should clarify this before anybody goes off all half-cocked, which they probably will anyways. Ken's question, why does Scruffy think sports media in Regina is terrible? Mitch doesn't think the personalities are terrible. He's saying it's been gutted to the degree that there isn't any media.
Right. And
that's what he's saying.
Right. And it's not CTV Regina that made that decision. It was Bell. It's not Global Regina that made that decision. It was Chorus. It wasn't the Leader Post that made that decision. It was Post Media. It's stuff that was happening higher up, and it unfortunately filters down. And as I said, the sports media in Regina, it's just not in a good spot right now.
Yeah, but it's the same everywhere. I talk to the media here.
Yes,
there are some Canadians, believe it or not, and some from Western Canada who they talk about the state of the media in Western Canada specifically. They're like, not that the people that are doing the job aren't good.
That's where I'm based, but
it's that they've been gashed. It's that they've been gashed. That's all. And Mark Hebscher coming up next hour. You might want to be tuned into that interview, Mitch, because it's going to be awesome with Hebsy. He weaves the story and tells if anybody cares how we got to where we were when it was so great to where it is now where it's not. Hebsy will tell the story. And like I say, it's a little bleak. And I'm not going to scoop him. I'll let him tell his findings, even though I kind of knew because I had a front row seat for the whole thing. All right. The Oilers lost again, Mitch. You getting worried yet?
Is it March?
Wow, you sound like the players. I'm with you. You know what I'm saying, though?
Oh, I know what you're saying. As I said, again, last night, they lose a game, and Evan Bouchard looks terrible in the final 2 minutes. Do you know how to play defense? Do you know how to box a guy out? Apparently not. Edmonton loses. They're going to go to Dallas tonight. They'll probably get rung up there because Stuart Skinner will probably let in a soft goal or two. But
who do they want? Who do they want fired up there? Just tell me quick. Who do they want fired in Edmonton?
It's either Skinner or Bouchard. Right now, the whipping boys are Skinner and Bouchard, and probably more so Bouchard now than Skinner.
Right. It's got to be somebody, right? As you know. Yep. So I can't follow every single market, so I got to rely on Mitch, the local Oilers fan, to tell me about that. Okay, great job, Mitchell. Appreciate this. It's been fun, huh? It goes fast.
It does.
Okay.
I'll talk to you later.
You bet. Follow him on Twitter at @MBlairRegina, Instagram as well if you just can't get enough of Scruffy. And we'll be right back here on the Game Plus Television Network, YouTube Live, podcast, and Mission Radio.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with The Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with The Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw-up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
You have a vision, a big idea. But how do you turn ambition into absolute impact? It starts with connection. Booking top-tier speakers and executing seamless events. That's the EMJ difference. We position your brand where it belongs, Guy, through powerful advertising, strategic media, and promotion that drives results. At EMJ Marketing, we don't just promote your rebel, we partner. Your growth, our mission.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
Welcome back, everybody. Hope you're enjoying the program. I think I got y'all teased up and really excited, like I am, for our Hour 2 interview with Mark Hebscher. And I know that the Ontario viewers perked up, particularly probably those guys in the Game Plus control room down there at Anthem Sports, because Hebsy is a really, really big deal. Think of the biggest global or sports line sportscaster in your market for those across Canada, and Hebsy is that of Toronto. I thoroughly enjoyed his book, read it in 2.5 days, Madness, the Rise and Ruin of Sports Media. And I also know that because this is a sports show, people are going to have a lot of opinions on it. Chris writes in, he's watching in BC. He says, I can't stand how sports shows have evolved. The formats have been changed to promote only their own products. Headline Sports was the last show to have it right. Show me as many highlights as possible. Bro, you're going back like 25 years on that one, which Hebsy was on Headline Sports. He was one of the original anchors on there. That was where I got my first national television job, was Headline Sports back in the day. So yeah, get your questions in for Hebsy. 902-518-3033, Western Dodge text line. From trucks to SUVs, Western Dodge has what you're looking for. Visit them or go online at westerndodge.ca. His book is available now, Madness, the Rise and Ruin of Sports Media. It's fascinating, a little sad. Here's the thing with Hebsy. I think he would agree he's largely retired now from the day-to-day throes of this perilous trade, as Howard Cosell used to call it. I'm 52. I got a lot of years left working in this. I'm trying to navigate this. As you say, you know, they promote their own shows. You can't criticize the home team. I'm very cognizant and wary of criticizing the teams that I cover. Like on this show, we cover it all. But with the Cats and Bolts podcast, you know, the Panthers play differently. We cover the Florida Panthers here. It's Florida's most watched hockey show. The Panthers play differently when Bob's not in net. When they have a backup in there, they're a different team. And I'm very wary of saying that. But I'm like, it's the truth. Now, I've never had any problem with anything I've ever said about the Florida Panthers. I'm very careful with that. But we certainly don't let it rock like the media used to back in the day. Hebsy will get into this more next hour. Hello, Ryan, checking in from Saratoga, New York. Ken in Mississauga writes that he says newspapers don't send reporters to the Grey Cup anymore. Well, hell no, the newspapers don't send reporters anywhere anymore. It's it's all in the book. And the difference is, and that's why I knew with Hebsy, him coming on an Hour 2, when we go to, well, we're already on in 32 U.S. states on Game Plus an Hour 1 anyways, but when we go across Nevada, there's a heavy U.S. portion in there too, because Hebsy's covered Super Bowls and spring training for the Blue Jays in Florida. There's a lot of things that he could discuss there. But that 49th parallel, as I've said many times, I used to think was just a virtual line. There wasn't a big deal. And then as long as now that I've been in America, it might as well be the Berlin Wall. Because the only sport in Canada that's covered is the NHL. It's the only sport. Ta-da! And the Blue Jays, when they're winning. Arlen Bruce writes in, hey, AB, he says, great day, RP. Hey, I joined Bet365 about 9 days ago. Yeah, it's not for me. I lost $38.88. It's too much in my little brain to keep up. So you know what I did? Uninstall. I feel so much better. I don't bet either. And while we are left out of a lot of conversations, I'm okay with that. I'm okay. I'm left out of a lot of things. I'm okay with that. It's time for your sports update, brought to you by Ultimate Fan Zone in Moose Jaw, your home for jerseys, collectibles, and all the gear you need. Visit them today or shop online at ultimatefanzone.ca. The Canadian Football League and the Winnipeg Football Club are proud to announce that the 112th Grey Cup, taking place Sunday, November 16th at Princess Auto Stadium, is officially sold out. That's the breaking news on this Tuesday. Fans from across the country will pack the stands to witness the crowning of this year's CFL champion and to experience one of Canada's most iconic sporting events. This marks another milestone in what has already been a record-setting year for football in Manitoba, with the Blue Bombers selling out every home game in 2025 and the Grey Cup Festival generating unprecedented demand. Back to how things are different nowadays. I did see people saying, well, that home sellout streak is a little tainted. They gave away thousands of tickets. Let's just go with it. The Grey Cup is sold out, and I'm actually quite happy to hear that because I saw all the Bomber fans, because I am friends with a lot of them on Facebook, social media, selling their tickets now because their team's not in it. It's a downer for the CFL, I would suggest, and obviously Winnipeg, that the Bombers won't be in it. But announcing today that the game's sold out is really good news. It's NFL trade deadline day. Jerry Jones made a deal to bolster the NFL's second worst defense. The Dallas Cowboys acquired linebacker Logan Wilson from the Cincinnati Bengals for a 7th-round pick today, hours before the Cowboys lost to the Arizona Cardinals on Monday Night Football to fall to 3-5-1. Jerry said the team had a deal in place to add a player who would improve the defense. Wilson had requested a trade after his playing time decreased for the Bengals, who have the league's worst defense. The Cowboys traded two-time All-Pro pass rusher Micah Parsons to Green Bay before the season. I'm going to have to move on real fast from this because I will get upset. And I have it in my commentary today. I have detached from the Dallas Cowboys. You all know that. But here's Jerry backtracking today, saying 4 solid hours of Cowboys coverage on ESPN this morning between Get Up and First Take, because the guys were down there in Dallas for the game last night. And Jerry reeled in Stephen A., had him in his suite. Now we won't criticize the Cowboys, of course. And Jerry's like, well, if you think Micah Parsons was a key part of our defense, you weren't paying attention. Shut up, Jerry. Just stop talking. The NFL is partnering with media outlets like Betches and The Gist to attract young female fans. These partnerships focus on creating relatable content, such as social media videos about women's products, which have gained significant attention. The league sees women as crucial to broadening its appeal. By giving these outlets access to major events like the Super Bowl and the draft, the NFL aims to engage its female fan base through authentic storytelling. This strategy emphasizes personal stories about players, fostering deeper connections with fans. And the College Football Playoff Selection Committee is set to release its first rankings of the season tonight. Fans are eager to see if the panel agrees that Ohio State is the top team, or if another undefeated team like Indiana, Texas A&M, or BYU takes the spot. This ranking will influence the upcoming 12-team playoff, which starts December the 19th. That is your sports update, proudly presented by Ultimate Fan Zone Sports Store. Get your game day gear in-store or online at ultimatefanzone.ca. Oh, you're all going to love this. Oh, thank you. Not this, but Brian from upstate New York writes in. He says, per Ian Rappaport, Sauce Gardner has been traded from the Jets to Indianapolis. Adam Schefter reports the same trade. The price for the Colts was 2 first-round picks. Officially. Well, it's funny that the Cowboys are actually trying to load up, getting a linebacker, a disgruntled linebacker. The Dolphins have already waved the white flag on their season. Clearly, the Jets did at kickoff of week 1. It's kind of a sad day, NFL trade deadline. Some teams loading up, teams unloading. But we knew that the Jets would. Bengals too, I guess, although Wilson wanted out anyways. Regarding the book, Madness, The Rise and Ruin of Sports Media, I should by Mark Hebscher, who will join us next hour, the infamous Hebsy, one half of the famed Sportsline duo in Toronto, along with Jim Taddy. I don't want to scoop him. I want him to tell his stories. It's his book, but Ken of Mississauga writes in and says, at the beginning of Monday Night Football, Howard Cosell was bigger than the game itself. In Hebsy's book, he goes deep into the career of Harold Ballard. And here's another beautiful thing about, of Howard Cosell. He goes deep into Harold Ballard's story as well. And the thing that's nice about a guy like Hebsy, it reminds me of Bobby Ackles' book, The Waterboy, where he talked about all his stories of working in the CFL, but also with the Dallas Cowboys and Arizona Cardinals, is that he don't care no more. Didn't care who he pisses off, who he offends. Hebsy doesn't, because what are you going to do? You're not going to run into Harold Ballard. You're not going to run into the guy that was the reason that he left Sportsnet. You're not going to run into him now. Hebsy lets it rock in his book, Madness, The Rise and Ruin of Sports Media. But what I will tell you is, spoiler alert, it's a bit of a bleak ending. And I'll let Hebsy tell the story as to why. But the book is Madness, The Rise and Ruin of Sports Media. And he'll join us to talk about that. And a lot of other things. Like, for instance, he didn't know when he was writing this book, which it looked like he probably finished maybe about a month ago. It's very current, that the Blue Jays were going to go to the World Series Game 7. And he talked about Mark Shapiro being very sensitive to criticism of the Blue Jays, specifically their drafting. Trust me, I read this thing forensically, and it is a forensic account of the very beginnings of sports media on this continent, actually around the world, to today's present day. And as Hebsy says, you may not like the panels that we have now, certainly not compared to what we used to, but the ratings are as high or higher than ever. The revenues for the teams are higher than ever, so they don't really care what we think. AB, I'll have to carry this into next hour. Appreciate you all. Thanks to Scruffy for dropping by. Hour 2 coming up right after this. We'll remain across Canada on the Game Plus television network in 32 U.S. states, plus going to Nevada after this brief pause here on Game Plus TV.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
You have a vision, a big idea, but how do you turn ambition into absolute impact? It starts with connection. Booking top-tier speakers and executing seamless events, that's the EMJ difference. We position your brand where it belongs, Guy, through powerful advertising, strategic media, and promotion that drives results. At EMJ Marketing, we don't just promote, we partner. Your growth, our mission.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw-up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
You have a vision, a big idea, but how do you turn ambition into absolute impact? It starts with connection. Booking top-tier speakers and executing seamless events, that's the EMJ difference. We position your brand where it belongs, Guy, through powerful advertising, strategic media, and promotion that drives results. At EMJ Marketing, we don't just promote, we partner. Your growth, our mission.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with The Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with The Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
How about that?
Hey-o. Welcome to the RP Show, everybody. Very big day because it's a Tuesday, NFL trade deadline day. Got a lot of big hockey games going on tonight and a very special guest coming up in the second segment of this hour. We are live on Game Plus TV across Canada and 32 U.S. states and across Nevada on the Silver State Sports and Entertainment Network, where they're telling me the show is being very well received. Your Golden Knights are home tonight to the Detroit Red Wings. We'll be teeing up that game at the Fortress a little later on. The guest, by the way, is Mark Hebscher. And he's a very, very, very big name in Canadian sports broadcasting circles. He's done a lot of U.S. sports coverage as well, Super Bowls, Major League Baseball, World Series, you name it. I think some boxing events. Anyways, we'll have to ask Hebsy when he joins us in the next segment what he would like to be known for, because there's a lot of things. Why are we interviewing him? Well, a few reasons. He's got a new book out, Madness, The Rise and Ruin of Sports Media. And let's be honest, it's my favorite thing to talk about. I've dedicated a career to it, and everybody seems to have an opinion on it. But Mark Hebscher was also one half of the industry's first ever two-person sportscast. He and Jim Taddy on Sportsline Toronto, before Dan Patrick and Keith Olbermann on ESPN, before Jay and Dan on TSN and later Fox Sports 1, before Tim and Sid on Sportsnet. That's what I would remember Hebsy as. But I shouldn't speak for him, what he wants to be remembered for. And I said to him, can I just tell you this story before he joins us? In the 80s, my dad bought a satellite dish on our farm that we lived on, tiny little Saskatchewan town. And my one brother was ensconced in Sportsline coming out of Toronto. He's like, you got to watch these two guys. They're nuts. Jim Taddy and Mark Hebscher, they're like nothing we've ever seen before, because our usual sportscasters were buttoned up, hair parted to the side, shirt and tie, Dale Isaac. These guys were crazy. At the end of the sportscast, Jim Taddy, one of them, I think it was Jim, said, remember, kids, only dope smoke dope. My brother's like, these guys probably smoking more dope than anybody on the block. That's covered in the book. So I've been watching them since the 80s. And I said, do you mind telling me, Hebsy, how you found this show? He goes, I saw you on Game Plus Network. And reached out on Twitter, started following you, and would like to come on and talk about his new book, Madness, the Rise and Ruin of Sports Media. That's coming up next segment. Okay, to the Quick Six show topics. It is NFL trade deadline day. The Dallas Cowboys got it going. Jerry Jones made a deal, the first of the day, to bolster the NFL's second worst defense, as was teased prior to the Monday Night Football game. The Cowboys acquired linebacker Logan Wilson from the Cincinnati Bengals for a 7th-round pick. That was Tuesday morning. Hours before the game last night, Jerry said the team had a deal in place to add a player who could improve the defense. And then they go out and crap themselves. Did you watch Monday Night Football? Like, we got a lot to get to here, a lot to unpack. Quarterback Jacoby Brissett threw for 2 touchdowns and ran for a major, filling in for Kyler Murray, and the Cardinals upset the Cowboys in Jerry World 27-17 Monday night. Again, I can't spend a lot of time on this because I'll just get upset, and nobody wants to see that. I said on this very show yesterday that it should be, if it's not a 20-point mollywhopping by the Cowboys, somebody should be fired. Well, it was a 10-point upset victory by the Arizona Cardinals last night, and we all watched it. It's long past the game now. Dak Prescott looked below average. Bad calls on 4th down, gambles, turning it over, missed tackles, drop passes. 3-5-1. And here's Jerry making a trade to bolster the defense. Like, the season is over. And this is how this show actually today, most days we don't have a lot of synergy. You watch every day, you would agree. Today we do. Stephen A. Smith, who's been Stephen A. Smith, I think Mark Hebscher would agree, right now is the number one sports media figure on this continent. It's probably open to some debate, but if he's not number one, he's top 3. And has recently become very well known, Stephen A., for trolling the Cowboys, making fun of the Cowboys. But what did Jerry Jones do? Flies him down to Dallas, has him doing his show from Dallas before the game, and then has him sitting in his booth with him. And I'm like, Stephen A., congratulations, you've just been turned. Having said that, I watched the coverage this morning, First Take this morning, and Stephen A. wasn't trolling the Cowboys nor laughing or wearing his cowboy hat, but he did say the Cowboys season is over. And here's Jerry Jones trying to talk himself out of a corner, out of a bind, saying, well, we didn't trade Micah because he couldn't play defense. We all know why, Jerry. We all know why you traded him, because he challenged you. And we know what happens when you challenge people like that. You get shown the door. The media business isn't a whole lot different than the sports business. As a matter of fact, we're kind of all the same thing. So I guess you might as well get on Jerry Jones' good side, and that's what Stephen A. did. So that will preserve his job, as the NFL is about to take over 10%, if not more, of ESPN. So the one thing Hebscher, in his book, I read it in 2.5 days, Madness, the Rise and Ruin of Sports Media. I just tore through it voraciously because it's literally like my favorite topic, and again, what I've dedicated my life to, quite frankly, this perilous trade. And Hebscher's book did not come across as grumpy old man shakes fist at clouds, get off my lawn, it's not like it used to be. Which is kind of what I was expecting, and that's what I hear from most media, those of us that have been in it for decades. It's not that. He very level-headedly and forensically explains how it started, everything in between, and how we got to where we are. 344 pages of that, and now here's what you have. Good luck. And I don't want to be a spoiler, but I'll just say the ending was rather bleak, a rather bleak outlook for the sports media industry. And on top of all of that, the one thing that I heard this morning in the gym, which is like where I pick up a lot of my show topics, and sometimes scoops if Joe Girardi's there, but what the guys and gals are talking about, and a lot of people were pissed that they couldn't get the Monday Night Football game last night because they don't have cable. So they watch it on YouTube TV, but because of a spat between YouTube and Disney, they couldn't get Monday Night Football on ESPN. I'm like, well, get cable, guys, and you won't have to worry about it, like most of us reasonable people. But you know what? It is 2025. So the poll question today is, do you have cable TV? And the poll is brought to you daily by EMJ Marketing. Transform your audience with powerful presentations from EMJ Marketing's elite speakers. Check out their website for more information, emjmarketing.com. And the results, I was fascinated to just see what the answer was on this. And we're a few hours into the poll. 2 of 10 polls reporting it's about 50-50. I didn't know what to expect. I've always had cable. God willing, I will always have cable. And my longest running and largest sponsor of me personally, rodpeterson.com and everything that I do, is Access Communications, Saskatchewan's most trusted cable service. I'll always have cable. I always get the games. And if for whatever reason the game, I don't get it, I won't watch it. I'll find something else to do. I'll watch Forensic Files or Dateline or 2.5 Men. 50-50 is the result so far. Mark Hebscher coming up in the next segment. Anyways, moving on to point 2. I can't get away from Jerry Jones. Biggest news out of the NHL Monday. The NHL is going to Jerry World for a Stadium Series game. The NHL announced on Monday that the Dallas Stars will host a 2027 game at the home of the NFL's Dallas Cowboys in Arlington, Texas. NHL Commissioner Gary Bettman said Cowboys owner Jerry Jones has been advocating for a game there since the stadium opened back in 2009. First big event, George Strait. Cowboy Rides Away tour. Did you watch the Cowboys documentary, The Gambler? What did Jerry say? The more I get, the more I want. If that makes me greedy, well, then I'm greedy. How do you cheer for a team like that? What I want, I get. Now they got an NHL game in Jerry World. Gary Bettman gets around, by the way. He was just here in South Florida not that long ago, just a few weeks ago, talking about our outdoor games that we're going to have in Miami at the home of the Marlins and in Tampa Bay. I'm pointing because that's where it is. And Tampa Bay, home of the Buccaneers in January. Very much looking forward to those games. And as Gary said, they're almost sold out. And what's Cowboys Stadium holds, it'll always be Cowboys Stadium to me, 95,000. It'll seat more than that for hockey. It'll sell out, as the NHL official said. We've never not sold out a game, one of these outdoor games. So it'll be fun. If you've never been to one, you got to go. By the way, there are 10 games in the National Hockey League tonight. The Montreal Canadiens, who have won 3 in a row, host the Philadelphia Flyers. The Edmonton Oilers, coming off Monday's 3-2 loss to the Blues in St. Louis, visit the Dallas Stars. Scruffy was with us last hour, the resident Oilers fan, and he says that the latest people they want run out of Edmonton are Stuart Skinner, the goalie, and Evan Bouchard, the defenseman. This is a recording. Winnipeg Jets, winners of 3 in a row, visit the LA Kings, who are winless at home in 5 outings, and the Detroit Red Wings visit the Vegas Golden Knights. Ta-da! So for those that are going to T-Mobile Mile Arena tonight, the Fortress, drive safe, enjoy the game. I did see, it goes back to when Hebscher joins us next. I can't wait. I read these sports updates from the Associated Press, the Canadian Press. They're talking about the standings already, where the Leafs are in the standings. I get that the fans are all horny about that, but I can tell you that the coaches really aren't. Like, they're like this. You know, they're focused on getting their team playing better, period. They're not really focused about what everybody else is doing. Talk to any coach, let alone NHL coach, about that. But the one interesting thing that I saw or heard on NHL radio just this morning was Ken Holland, the general manager of the LA Kings, saying every game right now is like a playoff game in the NHL. And you can see it. And we talked about the stat last hour. 78% of games in the NHL this year are 1-goal games or 2-goal games with an empty netter. It's the closest the league's ever been. And this is what there's a salary cap for. My God, they must be so happy that that's a fact. For the bettors, which again, I don't bet, but several reasons that I don't bet, but it's all, just so you know, it's geared so that the house will always win. So over time, you're not going to win. So why would you play? That's just me. But the aforementioned Gary Bettman will be very happy that the games are so close, so unpredictable, because that's what you want as a commissioner of the league, I would think, is parity, unless you're Rob Manfred, which is a story for another time. By the way, our picks, when we do them, for the National Football League, CFL, and CFL are brought to you by Pump Jack's Steakhouse and Saloon, Pump Jack's Cathedral, Pump Jack's Weyburn. Come early, stay late at the place where friends meet. By the way, does your message stand out at Outlaw Communications? They make sure it does. Tony Plater brings 35 years of communication and leadership expertise, from media training and leadership coaching to strategic crisis planning and compelling content. He'll help you lead with confidence. Outlaw Communications, where creativity isn't a hobby, it's a way of life. Our show is anchored out of Toronto on Game Plus TV and out of Las Vegas on the Silver State Sports and Entertainment Network. And because Vegas doesn't have an NBA team, the Raptors are our NBA team. So I will tell you that the Raptors will be aiming to make it 3 wins in a row when they host the Milwaukee Bucks in NBA play tonight. The 3-4 Raps, who knocked off visiting Memphis on Sunday, are trying to get back to the 500 mark after a slow start. The Bucks, who beat the host Pacers on Monday, are 5-2. So that's what's popping in the NBA tonight. 6 games in all, including the Bucks at the Raptors. By the way, I should mention there's a couple of college football games tonight. I do love the Tuesday games in college football because you kind of have the whole stage to yourself for the college football fans. It's Miami, Ohio at Ohio tonight, and UMass at Akron. Point 5 of the Quick Six show topics. The LA Dodgers are already looking ahead to 2026 with hopes of winning a 3rd consecutive World Series. Manager Dave Roberts, speaking at a rally on Monday, expressed excitement about the possibility of a three-peat. The team aims to match the New York Yankees, the last team to win 3 straight from 98 to 2000. The Dodgers will bring back their biggest stars despite facing injuries this season. They have 7 free agents, including Kiki Hernandez and Miguel Rojas. Clayton Kershaw has retired, but may remain involved with the team. Meanwhile, John Schneider. I said that this is a Raptors show. It's also a Jays show. I don't see any reason for that to change. John Schneider has been named a finalist for AL Manager of the Year for guiding the Blue Jays to the top of the American League this season. Dan Wilson of the Seattle Mariners and Stephen Vogt of the Cleveland Guardians are the other finalists. The winner of the regular season award, voted on by the Baseball Writers Association of America, will be revealed on November 11th. By the way, the program is brought to you by CoolBet. Claim your welcome bet bonus up to $200 with the promo code RP200 at coolbet.com. Canadian viewers only. Sorry. I should also mention that we are brought to you by Suds Full Service Car Wash. Fuel your fleet's finesse with Suds unbeatable cleaning packages. They'll shine like new every time. Visit sudsregina.com. They have our program on in the lobby every single day. Hi, Kirby. You're looking great. All right, Mark Hebscher joins us next, the infamous Hebsy. Again, for those that logged on late, weren't watching earlier, tuned in just now, Hebsy is a pioneer and the one half of the first ever 2-man sportscast in the history of this continent. A pioneer. I hope he's okay with me saying that. Mark Hebscher joins us next. We're live across Nevada on the Silver State Sports and Entertainment Network and across Canada and 32 U.S. states on the Game Plus TV network, YouTube, podcast, and 1700 Mission Radio across the U.S. South.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with The Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
You have a vision, a big idea. But how do you turn ambition into absolute impact? It starts with connection. Booking top-tier speakers and executing seamless events. That's the EMJ difference. We position your brand where it belongs, Guy, through powerful advertising, strategic media, and promotion that drives results. At EMJ Marketing, we don't just promote, we partner. Your growth, our mission.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw-up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live. Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
All right. Welcome back, everybody. Live across Canada, Game Plus TV Network, and across Nevada on the Silver State Sports and Entertainment Network. This guy can talk sports on both sides of the border, Mark Hebscher. It is a true honor. Hebsy, I see you got the book over your shoulder there, Madness, the Rise and Ruin of Sports Media. It's an honor, sir. How does the day find you?
Oh, excellent, RP. Thanks for having me. Big fan of the show. You know, I stumble across you guys because I do have cable TV and channel 535 here on Rogers Cable in Toronto is you guys. So I'm like, whoa, this is great because, you know, I'm not that adept to be able to find you on YouTube or watch a replay of the show or, you know, that type of thing. I'm kind of challenged that way. But, you know, I like what you do and you talk my kind of language, my friend.
Well, I appreciate that. And Mark Hebscher, a pioneer. I hope you don't mind me saying that. One half of the first ever two-man sportscast. I think that's a pretty good thing to be known for, Hebsy. Yeah. And with regards to this book, by the way, because we have 5-minute interview segments or 20-minute interview segments. I got 2 pages into this going, no, we got to give Hebsy 20 minutes at least. And maybe explain your book if you don't mind. This is not old man, get off my lawn. It's not how it used to be. This is a forensic, detailed account of the sports media industry. Would you agree?
Yeah, I would say so. This is all the behind the scenes, all the sexual stuff and all the lurid stuff. It's all in there. I name names, yep. All the relationships that go on, every player that was. No, it's none of. It's not that. It's look. I mean, I'm a sports fan and I'm a sports historian, and the sports historian part comes through in a lot of ways because people who are, I don't want to say Johnny-come-latelys, but people, let's say, that jumped on the Blue Jays bandwagon, and justifiably so, maybe not baseball fans, but like, hey, this is exciting, I want to be a part of it. As they were getting into it, the questions would come out, well, what's that rule, or what's this about? These are people that have no idea of the history of the sport. They didn't know what the designator hitter rule was before, or, you know, the mounds were higher, or any history of the sport. And so I feel it's a public service to be able to educate some of these people who might say, hey, I kind of want to know more about, you know, what sports was like back in the day and what influenced you to become a sportscaster, a sports journalist. And so I gladly mention the Howard Cossells of the world and Hockey Night in Canada and Jim McKay and Wide World Sports, Dave Hodge, and go back, even to the days of newspapers, the early days of sports reporting, and how the public had an insatiable appetite for information, anything. Some of it wasn't even true, but you could print stuff and people would believe it because, like nowadays, right? And so it's sort of come full circle that way. And also there's a lot of anecdotes. I traveled a fair bit, and I spent a number of years in sports media, 45 years. So there's stories that, I don't think these are the types of stories we're going to go, whoa, this is scandalous stuff. No, trust me, the lawyers looked at the stuff and said, that stays, that goes, that stays, that goes. And so I think it's, I hope you enjoyed it, but I think it's, if you're a sports fan and you've ever watched television or listened to the radio or read newspapers or followed your team, via any kind of media, which is all of us, then this is of interest to you.
Well, the problem for me is because I've seen behind the curtain, been behind the curtain. The fans haven't, so they just believe what they're told, right? And now I watch the TV every night and go, he's telling the truth. I don't think he's telling the truth. But the thing is, one thing for you, and I tore through it in 2.5 days, as you know, 344 pages.
It took you that long?
Yeah, sorry. Well, I'm a slow learner, slow reader. But teams have always wanted you to root for them. And the people, hey, you've broadcast Leafs games, Blue Jays games, Argos games. You've broadcast every league at the highest level. And that's not just a play-by-play guy. You've been the reporter. The teams want you being positive. That's not new, basically.
No, it's not. But the thing is, most teams would understand because back in the day, I hate that expression, but it was the media that controlled the message, right? If you didn't hear it on television or see it from your favorite newspaper columnist or whatever, it wasn't true, right? That had to be confirmation. Now it's flip-flopped. Now the teams say, why should we wait for the media to come and ask the tough questions? We're going to put out statements. We're only going to allow certain information to be, let out there. And unless you've got access because you're you happen to work for the organization that has the rights to the games, where there's a partnership involved there, then sorry, nope, you can't have access. We're not going to let you talk to this player or that player. We'll send out the players that we think we should send out, and we'll send out the statements that we feel are necessary, and we're not going to answer the tough questions. And if you keep asking those types of questions, well, you're not going to like it. You're going to hear from your boss, and you're going to be kicked off the beat because the teams and the leagues now, they control the media, not the other way around.
I want to keep this very happy, so I will save my downer point till the end, which is simply how the book ends. It's a bleak outlook.
Don't give away the ending. No, RP, you can't give away the ending though. Okay,
then I won't. Then I won't even bring it up at all. But when you say you and I speak,
the same way you couldn't give away the ending of the Blue Jays Dodgers World Series. You couldn't give it away because you. Right? So don't go there.
So far I have not given it away. Then I won't give it away, other than to say I'm like, ooh, that's not that's a little bleak outlook for this business. But when you say that you and I
killing sales, you're just killing sales on me now here.
Oh yeah, no. When you say you and I speak the same language, when you said Summerall and Madden are the greatest duo ever, I'm like, yep. I agree. But you went pretty deep into all the great duos and how they came together and stuff like that.
Right, but only the ones that influenced me. I can't speak to Chris Cuthbert and Craig Simpson because they didn't influence me as a young person growing up, that kind of a thing. So it's different for everyone. And I can't expect someone who follows, who followed Joe Buck and Tim McCarver to understand, Ben Schulman and Chris LaRue on Blue Jays radio. So it's very different now, and everyone has their favorites. The same way your favorite music was the stuff you heard when you were a teenager and in your 20s, not the stuff you heard when you were in your 50s, for example. So I understand all of that, and I'm laying this out. Look, if you happen to be young and you don't know anything about the history of sports or what I did or anything, I never heard of me before, maybe your father had watched me on TV, maybe your grandfather watched me on TV back in the day, that's enough. That's a good enough link. Maybe the old guy's going, Hebscher, you should watch him on the television late at night. Can't stay up that late anymore. I don't know. But I had stories to tell and history to present to people who are just getting on board, don't know the history of sports media, who the influencers were, who influenced me. And so, yeah, Summerall and Madden were, man, Sunday afternoons for years. Football, fabulous.
I think most people would agree with that. But I would say the wildest story of many anecdotes in this book was you filming, was it a New York Giants practice and being chased out of the stadium by somebody that it sounds as looked like Bill Parcells. Like, Hebsy, these days they would throw you in jail. Forget about revoking your credentials. Like, what the hell were you doing? What were you thinking?
Your passport. Well, when you work in television and you go on an assignment somewhere, you, like, the first thing I would always tell my camera operator, all right, my videographer, was just get me one great shot. One. All I need is one terrific shot. One that someone else doesn't have. One that's it's the one. I'll give you an example. Let's say there's the president is on the podium, and every shot of the president is from in front of him, right? But there's one shot that someone took behind the president, behind a curtain, and it's the backside of the president, and you can see all the reporters and all the cameras and all their faces. That's the money shot there, right? That's the different shot. So I always wanted my camera operator to find something that they could come and say, I got this great shot, and then I could build a story around that shot or make that shot a key part of the story. And so when you're doing football, they allow you 5 minutes of watching the players stretch and maybe toss the ball, and then they say, get out of here because you can't watch our plays. At least that's the way it was. And it was a little more casual in Canada. It was like, yeah, okay, what are the Ottawa Rough Riders going to steal our plays? So on this particular occasion, they wouldn't let us film, record more than 5 minutes worth. And I said to my crew, I said, we've got to get, I don't care if we get kicked out. We'll make stories up, or whatever, but we got to get this shot. And so we took quite a risk in, defying their order to leave, to vacate. And we found a spot, surreptitiously, and had all of our lies prepared in case they caught us, right? And we got these tremendous shots that we weren't supposed to get, that we ended up running on our show on Global, our Super Bowl special. And it was quite risky. And so I put the story in there, and I named some names, and we cheated. We did what we weren't supposed to do. But this was to get the story. And then when we put the story together, it was worth it. Right? It was wow, it was great, and nobody else had that. And that was the joy of, as a journalist, getting a story that someone else didn't have, or doing a version of it that was better than your competitors.
Yeah, but that's kind of the microcosm of what your book's about. Nobody does that anymore, and the viewers, I don't think, really care.
That's a harsh response. I think they do if they knew that it was out there, but I just think that the consumer of sports media today, and I've got a 22-year-old stepson who consumes sports media differently, much differently, okay, than you would think. And so it's a different way of presenting things. The old school is always going to be old school. My dad still reads the newspaper. I got to have the physical newspaper. He's 93. Yeah. So each generation is going to be different. The next generation is going to, they're going to have a microchip embedded, and they'll have all the sports all the information they need. Like they'll just press their forehead or something like that. I don't know, but. I think putting a good story together, and long-form journalism is that as well, and I write on Substack quite frequently, because I think people would like a good, well-thought-out story that's visually appealing if it's, for this type of format, this platform, and that took some thought and some research and some creativity.
BW in Edmonton writes in and says, oh, now I remember, Mark, that voice is distinct. Yes, it is. Allie writes in from Texas. She says, happy Tuesday, RP and squad. This Allie is Mark Hebscher. Before Dan, Patrick, and Keith Olbermann, it was Jim Taddy and Mark Hebscher. This guy right here was the pioneer of that format, which I think you're most that's what I remember you for the most of many things. Now, listen. Scott in Vancouver writes, and he says, any Harold Ballard stories, Hebsy? Listen.
You got to get them, Scott. You got to get the book. There's a whole chapter on, oh my God, you've started something with Ballard. I'll give you a little piece of this.
You ripped the hell out of him.
All the great memorabilia from those Maple Leaf glory days, from the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, when they won Stanley Cups. All of that is gone, except for one piece, and it's the Stanley Cup banner from 1950-51, where Bill Barocco scored the overtime winner and then passed away in the crash. You know that story. So of all the Stanley Cup banners, there's one left. The other ones were used as drop cloths by Harold Ballard at his cottage within, the propellers of outboard motors and on the ground to stop the paint from falling on the floor. They were in complete disregard. And when I found this out and I saw it with my own eyes, I could have cried. Could have cried. What this man did to what he said was, the most famous organization in the world, lovable. I don't know. It was just, it was a crime. It was, nobody really bothered to ask about certain things until the memorabilia world got going, and it was like, whatever happened to that? Where did that go? And then people would tell stories about, oh yeah, I saw. When they used to paint the gardens in the summertime, they would use like Stanley Cup banners as drop cloths. Like, what? So this is where the madness part. This is the book looks like this. The cover's like, but the madness part was that how could this happen? And if I told you this story, you would go, oh my God, that's ridiculous. So I had to tell you the story. You read the story, and you'll go, oh my God, how did they and we all thought they were the greatest in the world, and you're telling us that they weren't the greatest. I go, no, they weren't. He wasn't there.
Yeah, also not to mention how he treated people. That's all in the book from Hebsey's perspective.
In the book.
Right. But to this, because again, I thoroughly enjoyed.
Now remember, it all has to be true, Rod. RP, it has to be true, because if not, and the lawyers told me this, if this isn't true, and someone comes back at you saying, that's libel. That's libel, and we,
I believe.
So so they went over it with a fine-tooth comb, and trust me if I tell you, there were certain passages that I went, hey, what happened to that? I go, can't use that. They said, you can't do that.
Still,
I said, but it's true. And they went, they can't. So
yeah, what's provable? But I'll say this: for madness, the rise and ruin of sports media. From your studies, and by the way, the work you put into this is, I can't believe that was off the top of your head, Hebsey. So great forensic digging on a lot of the stats and the figures and the years and stuff. That impressed me. But who is the most influential figure in the last 100 years of North American sports media? If you could name one figure. I have a guess who you will say.
Well, you know who it is. It's Howard Cosell.
Yes.
Because he completely changed the face of the way sports was presented. And, the timing of it was good, too. It was the 60s. People were now more willing to speak their minds. They were more willing to criticize the government or institutions, right? Comedians, for example, were taking much bigger risks. They were, so people had a lot to say, and there were a lot of people eagerly listening. And so when Howard Cosell came along on television, he was completely different. He spoke his mind. He criticized. He took sides in race relations. So it was an extremely influential man, not just on sports, but on society. And he had a forum, and that was every Saturday on ABC's Wide World of Sports on television. Every day he had a radio show. And he was eventually, became one of the hosts of Monday Night Football, and that exploded. Not so much because it was just football, because the whole television show was entertainment that no one had ever seen before. So Howard Cosell is my guy, and also throughout, he was the link to Muhammad Ali, and that was a really important thing because he was a journalist in that regard. In some ways, he wasn't, but when he wanted to be, he was a tremendous journalist, and he asked the questions that everybody watching wanted to ask but might have been afraid to. He would ask those questions.
And he's an entertainer, and he's a lawyer. And I love that clip of him and Ali in the back of the limo, and he's like, don't touch me. Anyways, Hebsey, before we run out of time, 2 minutes. Where can people get this book just in time for Christmas?
You can get it anywhere, man. I'm telling you, online, Amazon, Indigo, Chapters, Kohl's, name it. Your favorite bookstore for sure. I was just looking it up there. Like my neighborhood bookstore's got like 5 copies there. I'm hoping by the end of the day there will be none left, but they got 5 copies. So I might go over and buy a couple.
Congratulations on writing this, man. I'm a student of the industry. I love it, but any sports fan would love it. Wouldn't you agree?
100%. Even if you've got sports fans in your family or friends, you're like, what am I going to get them for Christmas? And this is easy. They'll thank you. Trust me.
Well, and we do have a huge CFL fan influence in our viewership. There's a lot of great stories in there. How you almost saw Doug Flutie get run over in downtown Calgary.
No. I almost ran him over. No, I almost was responsible for him getting killed. Yeah. It's in
Okay,
there.
yeah. Well, like I say, I read it fast, but I enjoyed it. I got all the stories in there. Madness, the rise and ruin of sports media. We have 30 seconds. People want to know if you still talk to Jim Taddy.
Yep, sure do. In fact, if you get the book, you'll get the whole story, like up to date on the relationship and everything.
All right, everybody. Mark Hebscher joining us. There's the lot there to unpack. Just pick up that book, Madness, the Rise and Ruin of Sports Media, wherever you enjoy your books. Hebsy, thanks for watching. Thanks for reaching out. Huge thrill for me, man. Congrats on the book.
RP, I'm a big fan. I'll be watching every day. And keep up the great work.
Thank you, buddy. I heard we had one viewer in Toronto. We found him. Mark Hebscher joining us from the six, everybody, the iconic broadcaster and soon-to-be best-selling author. We'll be right back with a sports update right after this.
You have a vision, a big idea, but how do you turn ambition into absolute impact? It starts with connection. Booking top-tier speakers and executing seamless events, that's the EMJ difference. We position your brand where it belongs guide through powerful advertising, strategic media, and promotion that drives results. At EMJ Marketing, we don't just promote, we partner. Your growth, our mission.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw-up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world, thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with The Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw-up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world, thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
All right, welcome back, everybody. It is the RP Show across the Silver State Sports and Entertainment Network and the Game Plus TV Network, our television partners, and across the U.S. South on Mission Radio. You can find us in a variety of places. Emptying out the text line here for Western Dodge, which, by the way, are you ready for a new ride? Head to Western Dodge, where the deals are real and the service is legendary. Look them up. On the Mark Hebscher interview, that was just so much fun. As producer Corey just said, that was fantastic. A trip down memory lane for a lot of you people watching in Ontario. I understand that. Bill is watching in Brantford, home of Wayne Gretzky. He says, I believe Mark called the horse races at Flamborough Downs before he went to Global. Signed, Bill from Brantford. The book opens with a story of Mark Hebscher interviewing Wayne Gretzky in the LA Forum on Global Television intermissions. And Wayne was sweating on Hebsy, sweating on him. Rob in the Queen City writes in, he says, great interview with Hebscher. He was a beauty before there were beauties. You'll love the book, trust me. If I was to buy a book, and I've written a few, I'm not trying to denigrate the industry. I would go to Chapters. That's where because they still have a Chapters here in America. I think in Canada they call it Indigo Books now. But I went to get Doug McLean's book, which is fantastic, Draft Day. And actually, and for those that don't know, the guy that coached the Florida Panthers to the 1996 Stanley Cup Final, the iconic Doug McLean. This book by Hebsey reminded me of Doug McLean's in that McLean's was a forensic account of the NHL draft from how it started in the 60s to where it is now. Hebsey's is a forensic account of the media industry, but with a lot more colorful stories. It's nothing against Doug McLean, but this is just the way the media is a lot more colorful than Scouts. Trust me, I was raised by one. It's time for a sports update brought to you by Ultimate Fan Zone, your home for jerseys, collectibles, and all the gear you need. It is NFL trade deadline day. There have been a few we'll mention here. The New York Jets have agreed to trade star cornerback Sauce Gardner to the Indianapolis Colts. This deal involves 2 first-round draft picks. Jets will receive the Colts' first-round picks in 2026 and 2027. If you're a Colts fan, which if we don't air in Indiana yet, we're going to soon. I knew we're all across Ohio. Man, who saw this coming from the Colts? The answer? Nobody. Jerry Jones made a deal to bolster the NFL's second-worst defense. The Dallas Cowboys acquired linebacker Logan Wilson from the Cincinnati Bengals for a 7th-round pick today. From the baseball world, listen up to this. Boston third baseman Alex Bregman, righty Lucas Giolito, New York Mets first baseman Pete Alonso and closer Edwin Diaz, as well as Yankees outfielder and first baseman Cody Bellinger, were among the players who turned down player options or exercised opt-outs and became free agents. San Diego pitcher Robert Suarez also turned down his option and went free on the 3rd day of the 5-day free agent window. A total of 153 players have become free agents following the end of the World Series, and several dozen more potentially can go free through Thursday, depending on whether team, player, and mutual options are exercised. And, that's a whole other thing that if we had more time with Hebsey, that the 20 minutes went by like in 2 minutes. But it used to be there was your season and then off season in sports, and it was bye-bye. But now, because of the proliferation of the internet. And if I'd had more time, I would have got into this with Hebsey. How did it change? The internet. Bingo, bango, bongo. The internet. Anybody can be a reporter with a smartphone. The teams can be reporters themselves. So if all you care about is Major League Baseball, the Toronto Blue Jays, that's all you need to follow now. Why this show continues to grow, I have no idea, other than it's an escape from everything else. But yeah, for the baseball fans, they're all over this. There is no offseason for the leagues anymore. The Sports Update proudly presented by Ultimate Fan Zone Sports Store. Get your game day gear in-store or online at ultimatefanzone.ca. But also, I'm no dummy. I look like one, but I'm not. This summer, the lady at the golf course, the MC job that I did for the Riders and Bombers alumni. I said, I like your show because you talk about everything. I'm into everything, and you talk about everything. Your show is perfect. So we're trying to wedge our little slice of the pie in there. And it seems to be working, thanks to people like you. We'll be right back with Overtime after this. Talk about tonight's games and whatever you'd like to talk about right after this here on the Silver State Sports and Entertainment Network and, of course, Game Plus Television. 902-518-3033. Get your texts in.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with the Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more. There's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
You have a vision, a big idea, but how do you turn ambition into absolute impact? It starts with connection. Booking top-tier speakers and executing seamless events, that's the EMJ difference. We position your brand where it belongs, Guy, through powerful advertising, strategic media, and promotion that drives results. At EMJ Marketing, we don't just promote, we partner. Your growth, our mission.
Do you worry about how much someone drinks?
Do you feel angry or depressed most of the time? Do you feel neglected or unloved?
Do you feel that if the drinker loved you, she or he would stop drinking?
If you answered yes to any of these questions, you are not alone.
Not everyone trapped by alcohol is an alcoholic.
Families and friends are suffering too.
Al-Anon
and Alateen can help. Call 1-866-200-0223 or visit alanon.org/help.
Looking for a new ride without the big city pressure? Come to Western Dodge in Moose Jaw, where you'll find an unbeatable lineup of Ram trucks, Jeep SUVs, Dodge Muscle, and Chrysler family rides. With knowledgeable staff, great prices, and that friendly Moose Jaw touch, you'll drive away with confidence. Western Dodge, big selection, small town service. Visit us today or browse online at westerndodge.ca. Welcome back for Overtime, everybody. Bring it, bring it, what you would like to talk about. I'll get to your comments in a second. Well, hang on. Let me just tell you that Overtime is brought to you by our friends at Overtime Hockey Lanes in Calgary. If you're looking for the perfect place to perfect your shot, look no further than Overtime Hockey Lanes with state-of-the-art shooting lanes, top-notch equipment. Every time I go there, they got something new. It's the ultimate training destination for players of all ages and skill levels, whether you're prepping for the big game or just want to have some fun. Make it Overtime Hockey Lanes, office parties, business parties, birthday parties, team building functions. What more do I need to say? Check them out at 28th Street Northeast, Calgary. They're still going off about the interview with Mark Hebscher, who would agree with me the most influential figure in sports media in the last century is Howard Cosell, which I'm just entranced with Howard in this perilous trade. Just pick up the book, Madness, the Rise and Ruin of Sports Media. Wayne in Victoria, BC writes in, he says, great show as usual, Rod. I'm definitely going to buy Mark's book. I thank you for that, Wayne. I feel like every author we bring on here, you buy their book. Thank you for that. Madness, the Rise and Ruin of Sports Media. I'm laughing because, Hebsey and I would do some damage on a show together. There's no doubt about that. I thought I was doing well reading his book in 2.5 days. He's like, it took you that long? Took me a while to color it. I ran out of crayons. Hey. Bill, the very same Bill in Brantford, Ontario, the home of Wayne Gretzky, writes in, he says, I found the RP show the same way Mark Hebscher did, just channel surfing. It was show number 995. Haven't missed many since. Signed Bill from, thank you, Bill. But it's funny when I say, how is this show growing in this ruination of an industry? How is this show growing? Well, a big thanks to producer Corey for that, and also our business manager, Joe, because I'm an idiot, right? I've been told that my whole life. So the fact that this show would continue to grow and get bigger just makes no sense, because I'm a donkey. Nobody wants to listen to you. Okay, real quick, let's rip through this. The NHL tonight, 3, 6, 9, 10 games in the National Hockey League tonight. I don't got anybody to play the picks with, so I'll play it against myself. Carolina Hurricanes at the New York Rangers. They say the Rangers are coming around under Mike Sullivan, but I don't buy it. I got the Canes to win tonight. Philadelphia Flyers at the Montreal Canadiens. It'll be a 4th straight win for Les Habitants. We don't talk as much Habs as I would like. Boston at the Islanders tonight. I guess let's go Isles for Joe Lazito, the biggest Islanders fan that I know. Utah at Buffalo. Definite win for the woolly mammoth. The Edmonton Oilers at the Dallas Stars. I'm going to take Edmonton to pull off the upset. Nashville Predators at the Minnesota Wild. It's going to be a Minnesota victory. Don't take that to the bank. Tampa Bay Lightning at the Colorado Avalanche. A rematch of the 2021 Stanley Cup Final. Colorado will win this one and snap the Lightning's 5-game win streak. You heard it here first. Detroit Red Wings at the Vegas Golden Knights. Sign up a victory for the G-Men. Florida Panthers at the Anaheim Ducks. Ducks came in here last week and won 3-2 in a shootout. I think the Cats will open this roadie with a victory tonight. And the Winnipeg Jets at the LA Kings. What are the Jets won? Did I read 5 in a row? Make it 6. There you go. Talking to Hebsey about who's the most influential figure in sports media history. Colin in Ottawa writes in, he says, I don't mind Cosell as the most influential sports media figure, but his boss, Rune Arledge, created Monday Night Football, as well as ABC's Wide World of Sports. Rune Arledge is an icon as well. I don't think it needs to be an either-or thing. Ken is watching in Mississauga. He says, after the show, I'm going to go back and find your impression of the Forensic Files narrator. My imitation of that guy is not as good as I'd like. But like I say, it's still, he's creepy. As creepy as I can get. They found the perpetrator by a new technology called Global Positioning System, or GPS for short. I love the discussion of, do you have cable TV or not? It's a yes for me, dog. And it's a great deal here. I mean, got a wonderful bundle. Yeah, and I do the show from home. My cable TV, my internet, my insurance, it's all rolled into one. It's a great deal, but it's not like we were hurting for things to talk about today, was it? But what else do we watch on cable TV? It's a very small list for me. Dateline or any shows of that ilk. And then sports. And that's about it. And 2.5 Men reruns. And I'm happy. I was in a 12-step meeting the other day. My guy, Gary, beside me. You still doing that? Sports casting? Yeah, still doing it. BW writes and he says, it will be Edmonton or Dallas representing the Western Conference in the 2026 Stanley Cup. Well, then, tonight's a Western Conference preview. God knows how those teams are going to look by then in terms of personnel. I would suggest issues in goal for both clubs. Billy, I just saw Dallas in here on the weekend. Cats beat him in a shootout thanks to Brad Marchand. Big thanks to Hebscher for joining us today. The interviews like that make this business worthwhile for me. I'll tell you that. And thanks to Mitchell Scruffy Blair. We survived Scruffy for another day. Tomorrow, Matthew Barnaby will be with us, 18th all-time in NHL penalty minutes. Another great friend of mine, Barney. We'll be talking stick and puck with Barney. So until then, thanks for tuning in, everybody, here on the Game Plus TV network and across the Silver State on the Silver State Sports and Entertainment Network.
That